Yeah. On today's episode, we're talking about LeBron's final decision, Spain winning the World Cup, and one city's generational slumber. All that and more. Soccer's so interesting in the sense that if you know the game, you can tell whether or not a team is close or not. If you don't know the game, it simply looks like it was a 1-0 victory for Spain. Um, Spain kind of kicked their ass. If you look at some of the numbers a little bit, Spain pretty much dictated tempo the entire game. They controlled the ball 65% of the time. They completed 762 passes to Argentina's 463. Argentina didn't get a shot on goal the entire game. In over 100 minutes, in 120 minutes of action, they did not get a shot on goal. And this goes back to the fact that Spain, coming into this, had the best defense in the tournament. I think that I don't remember which teams I picked prior to this video going live, but I remember, God's honest my witness, the reason why I said I feel like Spain was going to win this one was just because I feel like throughout the tournament, the moment Spain scored, it was over. You know, it helped away in the France-Spain game. Or sorry, I'm right. The France-Spain game, that they just had this ability to score and lock you up because of what they said before. They were able to control the middle of the field. Lamine Yamal didn't really do too much, even though he had a ton of great shots and opportunities. Argentina's goalkeeper, I do not want to mispronounce his name, Emilio Martinez, probably would have been the man of the match if Argentina was able to win. That was a World Cup final record, 12 saves in that game. And I mean, he was the only thing keeping them close. And we got to talk about that ridiculous red card. I don't know what Buddy was doing, but clearly damn near tackle someone on the field. I mean, the Giants and the Jets are going to be looking at that film later on to see how to make a proper form tackle. And the moment that it went down to 10 men, Argentina basically was like, okay, let's try and do everything we can to get this to penalty kicks. And credit to Argentina in the sense that we've seen other teams go down to 10 men in this tournament, and they at least put up more of a fight in the sense that they gave themselves some opportunities to score with some help from referee play. But Spain was so clearly the better team in that matchup. And seeing the entire country and listening to guys like Thierry Henry talk about Spain in the sense that everyone plays the same. The men's team plays the same. The women's team plays the same. The youth team plays the same. The national teams play the same. Everyone has this style of play in the country of Spain. And they've only won 2 World Cups. I mean, there's only been, I believe it's 7 teams to have won the World Cup. Uruguay twice, Argentina, England, Italy, Germany, when they were West Germany too, Brazil, England, and Spain. And Spain is kind of a more recent winner. So this thing hasn't really, and France as well. This thing has only been dominated by a certain amount of countries. You know, Italy wasn't in this year. Uruguay wasn't in this year. And Germany lost very early in the knockout round. And so to see us Spain have such this culture of winning, and this to now only be their second star on their patch is incredible. But shout out to them. Shout out to the players on the field. Shout out to Lamine Yamal not shaking Donald Trump's hand, who, by the time you are hearing this, it will come out the fact that the Spaniard newspaper cropped him out of the celebration. And just another MAGA touch, Al. Before the match, Mr. Trump decided to say that he thought Messi was going to win. And unfortunately, the moment he said that has followed in a long line of people losing once that takes place. And the funny thing with like Trump's whole thing now is like, he's always been the vibes candidate. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing you can actually point to as to like what he did better. You know, that's not really his gimmick, right? His whole kind of get down is, you get with me, you start winning, right? The vibes change, the vibes, guys. This man is on an all-time losing streak when it comes to sports, and sports is kind of the thing that got him elected. Now, I don't know if anyone is going to look at this really as a turning point in terms of, well, this guy was a vibes guy, but now I'm off him. But he has been in such a diabolical run. I do wonder if this is just going to be the curse of Trump, like we had the curse of Drake going for a while, of just, everything he touches just seems to kind of keep going into putty at that point. All right. That's all we had on the match. But for the overall World Cup and the experience that we had in this particular World Cup was some of the best moments that I think I've seen in a sporting event's history. Um, Essentially, we had 3 countries hosting this entire thing. Um, Mexico and the Mexico City, that arena was incredible. Or stadium rather was incredible. That was probably my favorite match of the entire tournament, was England versus Mexico, just because everything that went into that game. Um, Seeing how good and how dominant certain players came through in terms of Holland, Jude Bellingham came to play at the end, Harry Kane, obviously Kylian Mbappe, Olise on France, and just seeing how the US is simply never going to get to that level. I said on this pod that if the United States were able to beat Belgium, that I think that while they weren't going to win this World Cup, I didn't think that was going to happen, but that they would give fans the belief that one day they could win the World Cup. And I just think that's fucking foolish now. The amount of culture that soccer has in these other countries is unmatched. And you simply can't produce that, right? You have to essentially infuse that into your culture. Like, one of the reasons why basketball and soccer are played world round is very simple. They're cheap, right? They're very cheap sports to play. You can play soccer essentially by yourself. You can play basketball by yourself. You can play with an odd number of people. You can play with an even number of people. You essentially just need a hoop and a basket. And that's why those are the 2 most dominant sports in the world, right? And it makes it so that the US just doesn't have that type of like system in it, right? A lot of places play soccer. I think they say pretty much every youth sport person has played soccer. I never played soccer growing up, but it's something that just is a lack of taste. And I think the reason why it bothers the US so much is because it's the US and it's a capitalistic monster and they want to dominate at everything. So much so that we literally had to invent our sport, football, and yam it into the Olympics for us to play, right? Just so we can feel more dominant at it. And I just think that the World Cup kind of showed that it ultimately is the world's game. And while there's tons of money that goes into soccer, do not get me wrong, there is not any amount of money that you can put in to infuse a culture like that into the United States, um, which is why they are peaked as an entire soccer nation. Okay, that is all the stuff that we had to talk about with the World Cup. But coming up next, we'll be talking about where LeBron might be going. Okay, back talking LeBron watch. By the time that this pod comes out, he might have already done his mini podcast to announce where he is going. Funny enough that LeBron is essentially holding up the league. I don't know if anyone saw Adam Silver's interview, but he flatly came out and said that they aren't releasing the schedule until LeBron makes his decision about where he wants to go to a team, which you would think as a guy who's 41 years old, would it cause this level of, what's even a good term for this? Issues basically with the league office, but it very much seems that where LeBron's going to go, because LeBron's obviously a moneymaker, that's going to be where a lot of the games are going to be. And I do think that this decision is somewhat like his first decision when he left the Cavs to go to the Heat, in the sense that no one really knows where he's going. When he went to Miami and left Miami to go back to Cleveland, I remember very early on, it was kind of established that LeBron might go back to Cleveland. Like the whole kind of discourse was essentially, is he going to leave to go to Cleveland or is he going to stay in Miami? He obviously left to go to Cleveland. When he left to go from Cleveland to the Lakers, it was reported like at the start of that season that he was going to the Lakers. Like there was no real question about it. There were other teams that kind of like put their name in a hat. I know Philly tried to put their name in a hat. And I believe that was the only time when Rich Paul went to a meeting with them, but not LeBron. But he ended up going to the Lakers. This time around, I think there's actual cases for all the teams that think that they might get him. So as of right now, currently, no odds provided here until we get some sponsorships. But we have it with Golden State Warriors, 76ers, Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Miami Heat are the teams that we're all looking to see who will get LeBron's services. And I still hold firm that Cleveland just makes the most sense in terms of the fact that you can convince yourself that you can win the championship with that team. And also, it doesn't really matter if you win the championship with that team or not, since it would be a nice little storybook ending. But this whole thing is, I also, a lot to kind of do about nothing. LeBron is still a great player. And this is essentially gotten to the point where we are kind of more chasing the name than the player. It is not that LeBron is not still a great player. It's not that LeBron can't even still be an all NBA player. LeBron has not been in the space to tilt title odds in a long time, right? Because, I mean, LeBron at his prime would take you, me, Joe, Mo on the street, and you would be a 57-win team and have a chance to get to the finals, right? Just because he's that guy. While his numbers still look good, and he has not fallen off from a statistical standpoint, going deep into the playoffs and actually winning a bunch of playoff games, that's not why you're getting LeBron on your team. It's just not. He's not that level of impact player anymore. There's been several years in his tenure with the Lakers where they missed the playoffs or they were out in round one. That's what makes kind of his time with the Lakers so tenuous, in the sense that he did win. And prior to him getting there, they were one of the worst teams in the league. However, for the Lakers, there is a difference in the sense of, okay, we won the championship with LeBron. We got to another Western Conference Finals with LeBron, and the downs being so bad. I talk about the multiple missed playoffs. Again, the multiple times losing in the first round. This was actually the first time this past season where the Lakers got out of round one but didn't get to round three. This is the first time they ever lost in round two with LeBron. They either missed the playoffs, lost in the first round, or at least got to the Western Conference Finals. And that in itself, not to mention all the noise that would come out from the Westbrook conversations, the Anthony Davis conversations, then Anthony Davis randomly get traded, then the Luka stuff. It was just a lot. And I think the biggest issue with that is, especially for any team that's to deal with, is that you're not just getting LeBron, the all-star player, the guy who averaged almost 21 points a game last season and was the best player on a team that got to the second round of the playoffs. You're getting the potential LeBron James documentary. I still do not know for a fact if they are going to keep Bronny or not keep Bronny. You're just getting a lot more stuff than I think a lot of teams want to normally sign up for, which is why I still stand by this. I think Cleveland's going to be the team because it just makes the most sense coming together with that team. For him, the documentary that allegedly he wants to be making, it's very much a close on the chapter, and that's where he'll be remembered, and that's the team that he'll always be associated with. But in terms of winning anything, it doesn't actually matter anymore if this team's going to win anything. All right, last break, come back, and we're going to talk about one city's generational run. All right, last little bit of the pod, but just really curious about talking about New York and just kind of the run that the city is having at the moment. The World Cup just finished up. The Knicks just won the championship. the Jay-Z concert happened, and I mean, talk about people being happier than I have seen in a long, long time. In a long, 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 long time. And this isn't a New York thing, but you have the Odyssey and Spider-Man. One is out and one is coming out in a couple of weeks. If you are a man, if you have not cried at some point, this is the pod for you, okay? Because these are some of the things that you will never, ever, ever see in your life again all in one summer. It is, I say this analogy a lot, and I don't know if I've said it on this pod because I say that part a lot, but I say this a lot of times to people who either aren't from New York or maybe you're visiting once or twice, or I get a lot of the questions of, why the hell would you live in that city? And I try to explain to people like this. You get about 365 days a year, right? I would say for 300 of those days, 300 to 310, those days suck. I'm not even being facetious. They suck. You're either dealing with extreme heat, extreme cold, flash flooding of rain, walls of snow, and now, because of climate change, wildfires, right? And smoke literally being in the air, right? So just take 300 days and just literally just throw them out the window because you're not going to want to be outside. The next 50 to 65 days, give or take, truly feel like you're living in Narnia. Like, it's unlike any place in the world. And I can't describe it any better than that. So the fact that we've had these many things happen at this time, and we are essentially now on the back nine of summer, is, I just don't think there's going to be a summer like this ever again. Like, this is one of those types of summers where, I don't know if anyone ever watched those, like, I remember Chris Rock used to have that, where in Everyone Hates Chris, where he had this whole thing where it was like, it was the summer of 1979 and the people just came out and were frolicking all the time. Like, that's how they're going to talk about 2026 summer 50 years in the future, right? It's going to be known as that time. And it's odd living in the moment of that time, but nothing else to me can make this, can turn this summer into a bad time. It has been that great. So long as we don't keep getting wildfires that are trying to kill everyone. All right. That's all the time that we have here today. Thank you guys again for listening to the pod. It would mean so much to me if you like, subscribe, review, told a friend that told a friend that told a friend, and told another friend to tell a friend to subscribe. Because if you don't do these things, I have to assume that you don't know the difference between sympathy and empathy. All right. This is the Men Who Cry podcast. I am Just Richards.